How's it going? I hope you're having a good day so far today. Making this video because my job search actually has just come to an end today, thankfully. I accepted a new position, technically started today as well, but essentially, I'm going to be spending this next like 2 weeks or so just training and trying to get my past tests and stuff like that so I can get all the stuff that I need to get. But yeah, so I finally got through a bunch of interviews and a bunch of other things. This week I had a total of I think 9 interviews. Yeah, I had 9 interviews this week so far. At like 5 different companies. So like obviously multiple round interviews, stuff like that. So it's been a crazy week, but I did learn a lot, and I want to share some of those things that I learned, especially throughout the interview process. So when it comes to interviews, thankfully I'm pretty good at them. I generally never have a problem with the interview itself. It's always just been like getting the interview, I guess, generally has always been the problem. But once I get the interview, most of the time, I end up like getting the job. So aside from that, so the thing is with interviews is that the people that are on the other side of the table interviewing you, they're people too. Like, it's really important that whenever you're interviewing, like, that they have hobbies and interests and, they have family, stuff like that as well. You can connect with them on that stuff. And being able to connect with the person who is in charge of hiring you obviously makes them like you more, for one. But honestly, it makes the interview much less crunchy, and it makes it a lot more of a fun experience. So for me, what I did was, on my resume, I have my interests and my hobbies listed. So things like my YouTube channel, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, weightlifting, whatever. Even stuff like video games, anime. My YouTube channel was listed on there. I think I said that already, but like literally everything is just listed on there. And basically just gives anything. It gives you anything that you can use to kind of connect with, somebody on the other side of the table with. And some people argue that it's like unprofessional or whatever to list that kind of stuff, but in my experience, every time that I've had an interview, especially in the last like 2 weeks, the hiring manager, whoever, has always asked about my interests, and generally we've had like conversations because we're both interested in the same thing, and so it just makes it a lot easier to connect with them. And the thing is with these companies, a lot of the times, is that they'll hire the person that they like and that they feel fits the company culture more often than they'll hire the person that they think is, like, I guess, not necessarily more qualified, but like just seems like they could do like the job. They'd much rather like train the right person who's going to fit the company culture, and instead of taking a chance on somebody who could probably do the job, but they might not get along well with the other people. They might ruffle some feathers and stuff like that. And that's honestly just kind of how corporate culture is, for better or for worse. But if you're open to it, I would say, if you don't have it already on your resumes, to like list your interests, your hobbies, and it helps like humanize you to the hiring manager, but also gives you stuff to connect on and potentially talk about during the interview, and just make things a little bit less awkward. And the next thing that really helped me out during this interview process, or at least the process of all of these different interviews and stuff, essentially was my ability to, I guess, read the person who was like interviewing me, if that makes sense. So I'll kind of explain that a little bit more, but the people who are in hiring positions, they are all extremely different people. Like it's not one of those like stereotypical like roles where like one kind of person generally is like an interviewer, I guess, if that makes sense. Like you'll get some people who you interview with and they have like a really quiet and calm demeanor. They could be more like professional or whatever, and being able to kind of understand that and like read that and get that feeling, that vibe, you can kind of match their energy a little bit more and see how they like respond to that. For instance, like if you have somebody who's, you know, a more quiet, calm, reserved interviewer and you are really loud, brash, um, you know, stuff like that, it might be off-putting to them, and they might be less inclined to give you the job because you make them feel like you just make them uncomfortable. Um, you know, the opposite's also true. Like if you have an interview with somebody and the person who's interviewing you is like swearing, cursing, whatever, you know that like it's a more casual atmosphere. It's more relaxed, I guess. Potentially, it could be a little bit intense too if it's like, I don't know, people are really loud and like cursing and stuff, but like it's much less casual. You can just get a whole feel, overall vibe for the company and its culture and everything before you even start working there. Just simply by like the interview and kind of picking up and noticing how people interact and what the energy is like. And this is obviously really important as well, not just for you getting hired, but like for you to even figure out if like, is this a job I want to take? For instance, like, you know, if your hiring manager is like cursing during the interview and that's something that makes you feel like very uncomfortable, then you already know to begin with, like, hey, this might not be a good fit for me, like culturally, like this just might not be a good match for me and my personality. And so it's really important that you're able to pick up on these things and make sure that you're getting kind of a like a vibe from them and you're kind of understanding how I guess the culture and everything is for that workplace, because the last thing you want to do is take a job and you start first day and all of a sudden you realize like, you know, the people you work with are like, you know, completely opposite of you personality wise, and you don't like them and you're just already wanting to quit like the first day. And then the very last thing, um, honestly, I think this is probably one of the most important parts of the whole interview process, but the last thing I always do during my interviews is I ask in detail about the day-to-day structure of the position that I'm, you know, looking to fill. I ask about like what's required and expected in terms of like metrics, or like production, whatever, however they measure, I guess, success in that role. And it's a great question to ask simply because you get to know exactly what matters to them in that position. So like what they think is like a marker of success in that position. And it also shows that you care and that you are intending to do a good job at the position, I guess, if that makes sense. And the other part that's really helpful for it is that when you have an idea of the things that actually matter and the things that they actually track and care about inside of a job, you set yourself off on the right foot and you have more of a goal, more of an aim, a thing to work towards, um, and, and stuff to kind of set you up to be a high performer or to be good at the job, instead of spending your time working on things that, you know, they might not necessarily care about, or you know, you end up spending a bunch of time on something and it's like, oh, I'm doing all this for the company, but if they don't find it as, you know, a metric of success or something that's valuable, you end up just wasting your time. You get put on a pip or like even fired. And, you know, you want to make sure that the things that they find valuable also line up with the things that you find valuable and the things that you actually want to do. Because, say, for instance, let's say you're interviewing for a sales job like I did, and you aren't motivated by money or you're not motivated by these other things, and you go and you try to put yourself into a sales position and you're focused on something else, but you're not meeting the metrics that you need in order to be what's considered successful at this position, in their eyes, obviously it's not going to work out. You're going to either be miserable and you're just going to be working to make that paycheck, or they're just going to let you go and find somebody else who is, more suited for that role. But with interviews, if you are out there job searching, looking for something, just know it is a numbers game. It can be really disheartening, but if you just keep at it, try to get a lot of interviews under your belt and try to practice, using some of these tips where like you're making an actual connection, building rapport with the person who's interviewing you. Try to come prepared with some questions to ask, show some interest, stuff like that. And just in general, make sure you're also vetting the job and make sure that it's a good fit for you, and try to get them to give you reasons. Try to get them to sell you on the job, to make you want to work there. Like, you should know that it's your choice whether or not you take the job or not, whether or not you decide you're going to work in this position at the end of the day. They extend the offer, and it's your choice at the end of the day. You can choose to decline, you can choose to accept. And so you need to make sure that it's a position that, for one, is going to work for you. It's a position that you're going to like, especially if it's something you plan on sticking to long term. But aside from that, with the interviews and stuff, I know it's tough. It can be a grind for sure, and it can be really disheartening. But if you just stick with it, you find things that are in your skill set, and you show that you're an individual with your own interests, hobbies. You can make connections with people, and you just show that you're eager to learn, and you also make sure that you show them that you don't want to waste your time, that you value your time and your interests, and you want to make sure that the job is also a good fit for you, not that just you're a good fit for that job. The person hiring you is probably going to pick up on that, and that's only going to set yourself up for a better time during the interview process. As always, I just want to say thank you so much for watching my videos, supporting my content. If you're interviewing or anything like that, drop a comment down below. I would love to chat about this. If you need help, or even if you want to like practice interviewing, I have a ton of experience with like hiring individuals. I also have a lot of experience with interviews, stuff like that. If you need any help, it doesn't matter if you're a subscriber, you're somebody watching my video for the first time, whoever, I don't care. If you need help, you want help, just leave a comment. I'll give you my contact information, and we can work together and see if we can find something that'll help you out. But anyways, again, thank you all for watching, supporting my content, and I'll see you again in the next video.